2014 A-levels, question number 37. The sectors that reported a higher growth rate in Sri Lankan economy during the recent years. Now, again, product outdated 2014 නෙවෙයි නේද තියෙන්නේ. Can you just tell me recently, Lama? 2022, this is not really international trade also. Which sectors had high levels of growth rates? There is මෙතන transport තියෙනවා, tourism තියෙනවා. 2022. Shall we go to the central bank report and just get a basic idea? Go to the central bank report, right? You can go to, they are not asking for export anything, right? They are asking for in general. අපි බලමු. In general, 2022 වල this one actually fell, economy actually contracted. If you look at බලමු growth, agriculture industry has grown by 0.9%. Is industry. Industrial sector, the 21, sorry, 22 වල ගත්තොත් agriculture industry has fallen by 4.6%. Industries have fallen by 16%. Services have fallen by 2%. Because 2022, remember, we had negative economic growth. Balamu මේක ඇතුළත if there are any positives, we'll just see things like මොනවාද? Let's see anything that is positive here. නැහැ. There is a 1.8 growth of sugar cane. Nothing much. Spices have grown by 3%. Here මෙන්න මෙතන තියෙනවා පොඩ්ඩක් agriculture supporting activities, forestry and this thing, but those are all very small numbers, lamai. So it doesn't make a doesn't make big sense. Industry wala mining and quarrying naha. Manufacturing has grown like a very, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Not really. Wholesale trade has grown product, right? Wholesale trade here grown by around 2.6%. Here, this is the growth. So not much. Remember, Lamai, because last year was the economic crisis. It has contracted. No? So maybe in your year they can ask in 2022, which sector contracted the most? It's the industrial sector. Overall, GDP fell by minus 7.8%. That you all know, no? Negative economic growth, minus 7.8%. From that also, which was mainly impacted, the industrial sector. But industrial sector contracted by 16%. This was the biggest fall, 16% contraction. And then, if you want to go a little bit more in detail, and if they ask which was the biggest contributors, which fell the most, maybe mining and quarrying fell by 31%. Manufacturing fell by around 12%. So those were the biggest contributors for negative economic growth. Now, and also cereals, these also have fallen. Growth of cereals except for rice. So this must be B10, I don't know, right? Growth of rice has also fallen. So you don't have to memorize all of this, just practically have a basic idea what has happened. Okay, so what has happened? Entire economy has contracted, it has not grown. Industrial sector is the one that contracted the most. It has fallen by around 16%. Inside industry, you all know mining and quarrying and manufacturing is there. Those have also fallen. Then rice production, cereal production, all of those also have fallen. Okay, just have a basic idea. You don't have to memorize all of this lamai in detail, not needed. Okay, so sectors that contribute higher growth, this is again outdated. So don't memorize these answers because these are old ones. 2014 will be based on the 2012 central bank report around 10-11 years ago. Then lamai 39. Interesting question. Market equilibrium and import supply curve of a certain good is given. Okay, they are asking according to this figure. Yes, in 2011 there is some growth. The area that shows the additional benefit to the society. Lamai, how do you read this graph? Here, this is the domestic supply curve. Supply curve domestically. This one over here is the domestic demand curve. This line is the domestic demand. Based on domestic demand and domestic supply, Lama, you all know there is an equilibrium price. Then you all know the basics. No? This area is consumer surplus. This area in green is the producer surplus. Okay. Then what happens? When the market is open for international trade, now there is a world supply curve. There is another world supply curve that comes at this. This is the SW, that is the supply of the world. So when there is a world supply curve, Lamai, the equilibrium price becomes the world price, because in your country, if a good is 100 rupees, in the world they can supply that for 80. Automatically your country price also becomes 80, because your fellows can't sell at 100 when foreign companies are selling that at 80. So world market price becomes your equilibrium price. So then my consumer surplus increases. Earlier consumer surplus is A. Now the consumer is paying a lesser price and he's buying more goods. So consumer surplus increases from A to A, B, C, F. Producer surplus falls from this part to only G. So just look at the diagram and tell me, Lamai, what is the additional benefit that the society got? By how much did consumer surplus and producer surplus increase by because of this international trade? Look at the letters now. Letters are being enemy. By how much did the benefit to the society go up by? Earlier, consumer surplus, producer surplus was only this. This was consumer surplus. This was producer surplus. Now, consumer surplus is this entire thing, right? Earlier, consumer surplus was only A. Producer surplus was B and G. This is earlier. Now, consumer surplus is this. Producer surplus is this. What got added, Lama? Just look at the diagram and tell what got added. C and F, right? These were the two that got added. This small part got added to consumer surplus. So that is the benefit to the society. Number 4. Hoping you all know this diagram. That is the normal import supply curve. Is that fine? 39. Now for this diagram, they can put an import tariff. They can ask you some other questions after. May question they have not asked any of that. That is that. So this is 2014-39. Okay. Tell me this. Question number 40. Which of the following is not a reason for trade? Not a reason why countries trade. Differences in factor endowment. Factor endowment means the number of factors of production you have. Is that a reason that countries trade? The difference in factor endowment can be, right? The difference in number of reasons. For example, someone like China, they have a lot of resources, they have a lot of labor, they can produce at a very low cost. That's why we trade with China. We can buy from them at a very low cost. So this can be a reason why we trade. Number 2, difference in the foreign exchange rate. Is that a reason why we trade? This is the sources of comparative and all. Not really, right? This is not really a reason for why. This can be our answer. Difference in technological know-how. Yes, that's the reason why we trade. Japan and them, they have one other. In the previous question, there is no deadweight loss. If the government intervenes only, there will be a deadweight. Okay. So now, why do we trade with Japan? Why do we buy Toyota vehicles? Because maybe Japan's technology is comparatively very high. Right? They have very good technology. They can produce very safe and good vehicles. So we trade with them. The technological know. Existence of return to scale? Yes. In difference in consumer taste and preferences? Yes. So these are all reasons for international trade. Why countries trade with one another? Then the reason which is not why a country trade is answer number 2, difference in exchange rate. That is not really a reason why we trade. In the protectionism diagram, yes, there is a deadweight loss. Upfront is not protectionism. This is simply just normal international trade. They are not talking about an import tariff or anything. Then there will be a deadweight loss that will be created. Go back and check in your table. Okay. Is that fine, Lamai? 40. Check. 2014. Question number 40. Yeah. Right. That is it with 2004. 43 is also from this. 2014, 43 is on what? 2000. 2014 question 43 is on comparative advantage. Okay, we'll do that. Right. There is one more question which I have not put in the past paper, so we'll go to that. I'll share it on the screen. This one, no? 2014 question number 43. Foreign exchange earnings, this can be, we can put that in BOP. We can do it in unit number 10. Okay, tell me this. The output quantities of two products that can be produced in Sri Lanka and India using a given amount of inputs are illustrated in the table below. So goods, they have given tea garments, Sri Lanka, India. Okay, first of all, what approach have they used? Input data or output data? What data have they given us? They have given us output data. No, they are saying no, the output quantities of two products that can be produced. Okay, so what is this here? Tea, they are saying units. So you can produce 100 units of tea. Right. Then let me go back and see. They're asking who has the comparative advantage, who has the absolute advantage, the normal thing that you have to do with it. Okay. So can you all tell me, look at the table and tell me who has the absolute advantage thing, who can produce more units, no? Sri Lanka can produce 100 units of tea, India can produce 90 units of tea. So for tea, who has the absolute advantage? Sri Lanka or India? Who can produce more tea? Sri Lanka. Who can produce more garments? Sri Lanka 120, India 100. So this is also Sri Lanka. Okay. So Sri Lanka has both. Then you have to find comparative advantage. To find comparative advantage, Lama, you have to find the opportunity cost. I'll do it on the side over here, Lamai. Okay. So in Sri Lanka, to produce 100 units of tea, they have to sacrifice 120 garments, no? To produce 100 units of tea, they have to sacrifice kiyada. Second. Okay. To produce 100 units of tea, Sri Lanka has to sacrifice 120 garments. So 124 gone divided by 100 gain. What is their opportunity cost? 1.2 units of garments. To produce 1 unit of tea, their opportunity cost is 1.2 units of garments. In India, to produce 90 cloth, they have to sacrifice 100 garments. So sacrifice 100, foregone, gain 90, 100 divided by 90, 10 divided by 90, 1.1 units of garment. So who has the comparative advantage for tea? Sri Lanka's opportunity cost is 1.2, India's opportunity cost is 1.1. So then comparison for tea is with India. Then automatically, Lamai, don't even calculate. You can tell other country has for the other good. So that you have to now, you can, for homework, you calculate and see. Okay. So for tea, who had the comparative advantage? India. Even without calculating, you calculate and see. Even without calculating, I can say automatically other country has for the other good. So garments will be Sri Lanka. So based on this, Lamai, can you all give me the answer? Read the question and now find the answer. Nothing hard. India has the comparative disadvantage in tea. No, comparative advantage for tea only India has. Wrong. Then Sri Lanka has the comparative advantage in garment. Sri Lanka garment, yes. 2 can be correct. India has the absolute advantage in tea. Tea absolute advantage, no. Sri Lanka, wrong. Both countries have the comparative in both products. That can never happen. India does not have the comparative advantage in both. No, they have the comparative at least in one good. Okay. So that is also wrong. Answer number 2. 43. Answer number 2. Is that fine? Shape. That question is not there in your tute. It is also from unit number 9. See, very common question. No? Same thing they are repeating again and again and again. We'll move back to our tute. Okay. That's 2014. Done. How did you all do so far, guys, out of all the questions? Got most of it correct. 11, 12, 13, 14. You would have done around 10 questions now. I don't know. 10 to 11. step going. Okay, so we'll end it there. We'll start with the 2000